Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump shared a stage for the first time in this election cycle Wednesday night, offering a first look at what's to come in this fall's debates. Meanwhile, Israeli and Palestinian leaders begin peace talks, and a new law could be passed in Ohio that would classify abortion as murder under the law. This is The Loop. Wednesday night, NBC held what they called a Commander-in-Chief Forum, hosted by Matt Lauer, and political pundits considered it a failure on all counts. Clinton appeared unconfident, Trump offered no details on his policies, and Matt Lauer was widely criticized for his performance as moderator, using a large section of Hillary Clinton's time to discuss her emails during her time as Secretary of State, and not fact-checking Trump, who claimed that he had always publicly opposed the Iraq War. Now, this isn't true, as he did publicly say when asked if he supported the war on Howard Stern on September 11, 2002, quote, "Yeah, I guess so." Lauer was also criticized for not asking follow-up questions after Trump claimed that he'd fire multiple US generals and that Vladimir Putin has an 82% approval rating, higher than President Obama's. Clinton definitely seems concerned about her less than inspiring performance Wednesday night. The race between Trump and herself is tightening, as she only maintains a 3.1% lead nationally, down from the nearly 8-point lead that she held 1 month ago. She held her first press conference in 278 days on Thursday morning, the first since December 5th, 2015, where she went on the defensive, claiming that Donald Trump is receiving more favorable press coverage than she is. The Hill reports that Democrats believe that the scrutiny given to her emails by the media is vastly overblown. However, not one member of the press asked her about her much-vaunted emails that took up so much time on NBC Wednesday night during her press conference on Thursday. She also tore into Trump's comments about Putin and his refusal to reveal his strategy for defeating ISIS. Meanwhile, Libertarian candidate Gary Johnson had an embarrassing moment on MSNBC's Morning Joe when he was asked about the ongoing refugee crisis in Aleppo, Syria. Johnson's response was simply, "What is Aleppo?" which many critics were quick to call an alarming signal that Johnson lacks the foreign policy knowledge necessary to run the United States. After MSNBC commentator Mike Barnicle explained that Aleppo was the epicenter of the Syrian refugee crisis, Johnson replied, "Okay, got it. With regard to Syria, I do think that it's a mess." Which, at the risk of editorializing, which I'll take here, is the most basic possible non-response that a candidate could possibly deliver. This could not come at a worse time for Johnson, whose polling numbers sit at 10% nationally, just 5 points away from the 15% threshold necessary to put him on the debate stage with Trump and Clinton. As of Thursday morning, Aleppo was one of the top trending topics on Twitter, with upwards of 140,000 mentions. The Independent reported Thursday that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Palestinian President Netanyahu Abbas are set to meet in Moscow at an unspecified date. While they exchanged a public handshake last year, this would be the first issue-driven meeting between the two leaders since 2010. While it is unknown at this time when the meeting will take place, according to Abbas, it has already been postponed once at Israel's request. Maria Zakharova, spokesperson for the Russian Foreign Ministry, said in a brief statement that timing is everything for a meeting like this. Now, Abbas and Netanyahu disagree wildly on a wide variety of issues, but this meeting is the first official step towards peace since US-led talks broke down back in 2014. The fact that Russia is able to bring the two leaders back to the table implies a great deal about Russia's influence in Middle Eastern affairs. We'll have more on this story as it develops. And finally, in Ohio, a proposed state constitutional amendment has reached the office of Attorney General Mike DeWine that would render abortion within the state illegal and would classify any abortions performed in the state as aggravated murders. The proposed amendment is not connected to any existing pro-life groups, but it would, quote, "prohibit abortion of all unborn human beings without exception," and was accompanied by over 100 partial petitions. None of them had the 1,000 valid signatures from registered voters required for approval. The language in the proposed amendment specifies an unborn human as an individual organism from fertilization, whether fertilization occurs inside or outside of a human, until live birth. The charge of aggravated murder is punishable by sentences of 15 years to life imprisonment. Anthony DePayne, one of the 3 private citizens who drafted the proposal, said that he and his co-writers are, quote, "just 3 Christians in Ohio. We saw that since Roe v. Wade, no one had proposed a ballot issue saying you can't murder babies." Now, the Attorney General has no say in whether or not this proposal is constitutional. He merely has to decide whether or not the wording of the proposal is proper enough to pass on to the Ohio Secretary of State and eventually to the ballot board. According to the Columbus Dispatch, supporters of the proposal would have to collect 305,591 total signatures to put this issue on the ballot for a statewide vote, likely in November 2017. Kelly Copeland, the executive director of NARAL Pro-Choice Ohio, had this to say. The proposal, quote, "would punish women woman, plain and simple. If passed, women and doctors would be imprisoned for any abortion, even one to save a woman's life. Also, the language would block prescription birth control, emergency contraception, IUDs, and could impact access to in vitro fertilization. It is unknown at this time when Attorney General DeWine will make his decision on the proposal. Now I want to hear from you. How do you feel about the 3 presidential candidates right now? How do you feel about the peace talks between Israel and Palestine? And do you support or oppose this proposed amendment in Ohio? Let us know down in the comments below. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. I'm Matt Lieberman, and until next time, you're in the loop. Thanks for watching. Donald Trump visited Mexico this Wednesday and delivered a speech on immigration in Arizona that many Republicans...
I was in a park one time when I was a kid and I saw a couple doing it to each other.